The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, you guys hear me?
You can.
Rico, why don't you start us off?
Oh, I'm doing the intro now too?
Yeah,
Do
go
something.
ahead.
Jason can't
Go
get his
ahead.
shit to work.
Yeah, what's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of High at 9 News. You can catch us live every weekday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon, high noon on the East Coast, or wherever you are in the world. Just know that it's High at 9 somewhere. Today is National Sports Day, where everybody can pick up a sport and try it. Doesn't mean you're going to be good. It's also National Liqueur Day. Not to be confused with National Liquor Day. Liquor is quicker, but liqueur is it's sweet and shit. And it's also National Clean Your Virtual Work Desktop Day, which means close the tabs. If you're a tab queen like me, it's slowing down your optimal performance, and just let it go. Just let it go. And finally, there's a it's World Food Day. So make sure you guys give away some food if you got too much in your kitchen and everything. I know Auntie Gigi's kitchen is always full, so go on over to her house and make her cook for you. And Department Store Day and Global Cat Day. I'm more of a dog person myself, but more power to you if you like cats. I'm allergic and shit. Jason, you ready? I know Jason's on.
Oh, yes.
He is on assignment today, out in the great state of Maine with some special guests for us today. And it looks like you're at some kind of a campaign rally event, or you might be are you was that you going hunting today or some shit, man? Where you at? Where you at, Jason? Are you frozen? Jason is in the state that Gretchen loves him most, silent and frozen.
Oh, you guys are funny. You guys are funny.
There he goes. Jason,
Yes.
what you got for us today, my man? Where are you?
So I am at Congressman Rohrbacher's home in York, Maine. And right behind me is the York River. And that is where, are you ready for this, Rico? That is where John Hancock, that is where John Hancock used to receive his liquor that he would smuggle in from Canada.
Mm.
Oh, yes.
Interesting.
Yes,
Is that
and
also
this
the
episode
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and this episode is powered by Starlink today.
Very scrubbly. You're going in and out, Jason. I think your man Elon Musk is having technical difficulties out there.
Yeah,
Tell
you
Dan
can
I had to
tell
get some better
Start on
Wi-Fi.
you can tell him to keep the Starlink up while the Ukrainians are trying to bomb a harbor.
Yeah. Moms for the moms.
Elon Musk
Speaking
took
of the bomb,
took the internet away from the Ukrainians just to give it back to you, Jason. I see.
That's what needs to happen for sure. The internet over here.
Uh,
Uh,
you want to get things started today, Jason? You want me to
Yeah, we're 6
kick
minutes
it
in.
off?
Can someone do a story?
Let's go in, man. I'm gonna get things started today. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street, and I got some news out here coming from New Zealand, actually, and as a new study that was released on Friday. So, um, let's see, a new study data out of New Zealand released Friday, studying links between cannabis use disorder, dwindling IQ scores, to adolescent consumptions, sure to add fuel to the to save the children prohibitionist crowd fire. But is it something that we should really be worried about? Let's dive into it. The Fresh Toast first dropped the news on Friday afternoon that a large study in New Zealand found persistent cannabis use disorder with frequent use starting in adolescence was associated with the loss of an average 6 or up to 5 IQ points measured in mid adulthood. The study found that those who consumed heavily as teenagers and quit using as adults did never recovered those lost IQ points. However, people who only began consuming heavily in adulthood did not lose any IQ points. An earlier study conducted in 2001, published in the National Archives of Journal Psychiatry, revealed the former cannabis smokers did not show any cognitive impairments. The same as another study published 4 years later in the Journal of Neurotoxicology and Teratology, said the same thing. But then we have studies like this suggesting that the opposite is true. So, who or what should we be believing here? Per the article, the previous studies mainly focus on long term outcomes of those who started using marijuana earlier in life, compared to statistically significant changes in cognitive functioning among those who use cannabis and those who don't. On the other hand, the New Zealand study that came out on Friday followed 1,037 New Zealanders from age 3 to 45. I didn't know that, they were following people that long, even smoking weed, but whatever, to determine the effect that cannabis has on brain function. Published in the American Journal of Psychiatry, the study found that those who have been using cannabis early and long term and on a regular basis indeed showed cognitive impairment. Besides a 5.56 point average decline in users' IQs from childhood to midlife, the results confirmed that some deficits in learning and processing speed compared to those who are not users. Also of note was that, similar to the effects seen in alcohol within the study, long-term cannabis users also developed memory and attention problems. And like alcohol and nicotine, early age use of cannabis can have long term negative effects. The research group plans to expand their research to focus on adult use as well next. So, what does all this mean? As a parent, this really doesn't change a damn thing or any of my previous beliefs of and or how I plan to use cannabis around my children. Furthermore, me or pretty much anyone that I know that's a parent in the industry, or even just a parent who consumes openly or privately, never planned on letting our kids smoke weed regularly at early adolescent ages, anyways. I do admit that I personally began my journey with the plant while I was in middle school, but there was much there's a bunch of other shit going on there, and my parents weren't really aware of it until I was much older. I graduated from high school with a 4.0 GPA and a 4-point scale, and college with 2 degrees, not one but 2 degrees, and a 3.2 GPA there. I never took an IQ score between the two of those, and so I don't know how I'd compare to national averages. But if I lost 5.5 points because of my previous heavy consumption habits, I think that gaining 11 points on the social and emotional scales balanced me out just fine. But I'm interested in hearing what the rest of the team has to say about this one, especially the parents in the room. What do y'all think about this study? Is it something to worry about at all? Are you guys shifting your playing game plans? What do y'all think?
Can you guys hear me okay? A minute ago, I was getting a notice that my audio was a little wonky. Am I good now?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, great. So, two things. One, I definitely think that cannabis does affect your short-term memory for sure. I'm impacted by that from time to time. But I also think that what you make up in emotional intelligence through the use of cannabis far supersedes any
Yes.
IQ loss. I would much more be emotionally astute and in tune with the world and understanding how to navigate it from an emotional perspective. Book smarts isn't always what's gonna make you thrive. So
Right on.
Well, as a
Oh,
parent, I'm already worried about this kind of stuff. I didn't need another article to reinforce that this is a age restricted product, that people's brains are not done developing until 24 or 25, and that
right.
once you get your life together, you got a couple degrees, you got a little stability in your life. There's a very different set of circumstances there when people have already established a path. I mean, the truth is, no one has ever said to me with a straight face that cannabis is great for motivation or consistency for high school children when it comes to their academic excellence. So I don't feel like this is new news. I almost feel like it's just validating common sense. Um, they say we don't use a lot of our brain anyway. I don't think that that's a good justification to lose 5 IQ points. I think that people's cannabis journey should start later than those of us who started earlier. And that as a wellness and recreational product for adults, I'm happy with cannabis in that category.
I would even add to what Mandy said. The emotional and social points that I scored smoking weed. I never would have had any gay friends, any friends that didn't look like me, any white friends, any brown friends, if it were not for cannabis. Period. Especially me
What,
kind of
you
growing up
showed
in
up
the
to the
South,
party
like
with your
hanging out
bag?
with who you,
You got new friends?
what's that?
I
What's
said you
that?
showed up to the party with the bag. You got some new friends.
Yo, straight up. Like in college, man, like where I'm from in Virginia, man, it's like the only friends that I wouldn't even say you call them friends. The only people that I hung out with that did not look like me was because of sports. And off the field or off the court, we didn't really hang out like that. It wasn't until college and it's cold as fuck in Chicago, where it's like whoever had the weed, that's who you smoking with. That's when I had my first gay friends. That's when I had my first white friends. And first started talking to people who didn't look like me and realizing that they weren't the devil, that they weren't going to hell. You know what I'm saying? Like I was a country southern boy, very conservative from Virginia, Bumblefuck, Virginia, a place called Fluvanna County, Virginia. And that's just how we were raised. Don't mess with people that don't look like you. Don't trust people who don't look like you. And if you're gay, you're going to hell. That's what I was taught growing up. And if
Okay,
it
well,
wasn't
I think,
until
frankly,
it wasn't
it's a
until
bit
weed that I
nuts
came
to
to my
pretend that you
demise.
need cannabis to be interested in other people socially. I don't consume, I never consumed anything until college, and that's including alcohol. And I have plenty of friends of various diversities and gender backgrounds and yada yada. I think that's
but also
all of this stuff goes back to parenting. I don't think you need cannabis either way. I think you should care about the 5% or the 5 points that you might lose. I think those do matter. But I also think that there needs to be a lot more research on this topic because one study is going to say yes, the other is going to say no. Either way, kids should not be using uh, without a medical reason at an early age.
I
It's
do
very,
agree with
very
you that
true.
it
The
goes back to the parenting, but it was my parents that taught me those things,
yeah.
taught me the bigotry,
Um,
you
Yeah,
know.
but you need weed
And if I
to
if I
come
stuck to
out and
that, if
talk to
I
other
stuck to that,
people.
No,
You're
Gretchen,
telling
I
me
wasn't
without
social.
cannabis, you wouldn't go and speak. Rico, this question is for you. You would
It
not go
broke
and
down
speak to
social
other people
barriers.
you did not know without cannabis.
Nope, nope.
That's
Gretchen,
insane.
she
I
went
would have been
from a
on the
bigot to
same.
a big hit.
I don't think that. Well, first, Gretchen, what we're saying here
That's
is
where I
not
grew
that
up.
we wouldn't have friends without cannabis. What we're saying
No,
is that it has allowed us to have a shift in perspective, a
it
wider,
broke down those. It broke
brighter
down those
viewpoint
barriers.
in the
You're
world. Yeah,
basically
it
saying that
allows
you
you to
guys
break
have
down that
friends.
like armor of defense that we all wear from time to time,
Yeah.
and allows your humanity to be more vulnerable. And in that
But
space, that's when you really connect with others. And it's
that's
a
a
deeper
different
level. I
argument.
have
That's a
thousands
different
of
argument.
friends, right?
That's a different argument than should that have happened after 18 or 21, right? So like all of those benefits,
Right.
and assuming that Gretchen and I don't disagree with you, the question isn't whether those are benefits. The questions are whether those are benefits that trump it being an age-restricted product, especially given this research that's saying that there's a permanent diminishment to IQ. And I think the position that we could all agree on is that separate from those emotional IQ or social expansion benefits, does that justify this not being an age restricted product? And I think if we really were to peel back all the other sub facets to this conversation, we would all agree that no, it doesn't.
And like I
Yeah,
said
I'm not
in
trying
my
to say that
story, there's a
some
lot of
will.
other stuff that was going on in my family that my parents were not aware of, and there's a lot of stuff that my friends were not aware of that was going on in my household. So there's a lot of it goes back to the parenting. So I agree with you on that, Gretchen. But you know what? Cannabis was my catalyst to be a more open, socially and emotionally human being at an earlier age, where my parents did not give me that outlet. They did not give me the tools to succeed in those lanes.
And I'm not
Well, I
saying let's
suppose I was just lucky to grow up in a much more diverse environment.
Yes,
And
sir.
have and to have white parents.
What
Mhm.
what do my white parents have to do with anything?
You said you're
Why
not
why do you
always
think that
you're
white
not always
parents would be
paranoid.
like,
You're
okay,
not
go play
always
with all the
paranoid
black
like
kids
we
down the
are.
street? What are
But
you talking about?
white people are the devil. White
You don't
people are
think
gonna
white
take this
people are
from you. White people are
paranoid?
gonna
Have
fuck
you
you up.
met MAGA? Are you kidding me? White people are
Hold on,
crazy
I've
paranoid.
always been paranoid my whole
You
life.
feel a lot safer. You feel a lot safer in America as a white person than
Oh
I do as a
God,
black
here
man
we
from the
go.
South.
Here we
Oh
go
dear
with the
Just
Lord.
real.
craziness. Here we go with the rhetoric.
How is that not real? If
It's
you are a
rhetoric.
black person in the South, are you telling me you're gonna feel very, very comfortable going out and being friends with and trusting absolutely everybody around you that does not look like you? Probably not.
I don't trust everybody who does not look like me, but I also don't go out the door and say there's no way I'm talking to this person because they don't look like me. There's a difference.
You grew up in a different place. And when you're white, you
I
don't have to
did.
make the same
Pittsburgh, a
decisions that you
fine,
do as a
fine
black parent or
East
as a
Coast
black child
city.
growing up. That's
Pittsburgh.
just reality. That is reality. You don't have to worry about people shooting you in the middle of a Walmart, do
That's
you?
bullshit, Rico.
Because that shit happens. That shit happened in Cleveland, did it not?
Yes, it happened. I
That's the
grew
stuff.
up
That's the
in
stuff that that's the
I
stuff that
also
black
grew
kids
up
have
in
to worry
Crip
about.
territory and in the middle of a gang war. I don't know what your problem is. You don't know shit.
Both have so much
You can get
street
shot
cred. We could
anywhere.
dedicate an entire episode to the street cred of these two co-hosts of this amazing show.
Are you yeah?
And
Are you saying are you saying that that we have the same level of safety, growing up in America as a white kid or a black kid? You don't have to. You can actually trust
no,
the
that's
people who
definitely
police
not
your communities as a white kid. You cannot
that's
do that
definitely
as a
not what
black
I'm
kid.
saying. But
You don't have to have the talk with your kids. So you're on a different social level, period, in America. That's just the way it is.
Well, thank goodness you had cannabis to help you understand all these horrible social inequities that were hurting you and have
Exactly what I'm
made
saying.
you an emotionally
Broke down that paranoia.
smart person,
If it wasn't for
Rico.
weed,
Thank
I
God for
wouldn't have been.
weed.
I'd be like, oh, hey,
Oh,
y'all ain't all out to get me. Just half of y'all.
can
I
you
mean,
guys hear me?
yeah, we can. And
Okay, all
going
right.
There we
back
go,
to the
Just
Jason.
keep sitting
article,
there. Just
Hold on,
keep sitting
hold
there.
on. So hold on a second. Hold on a second. I do want to take a second to introduce Congressman Rohrabacher, author of the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment, which is the federal appropriations bill that protects the cannabis industry from the
On to the
DOJ.
next story.
Thank you, Dana.
straight up,
Yeah.
Can he hear us, Jason?
There you go.
Here's you.
Yeah, I can hear you guys. You see the river behind me? Did you already tell them what's on the other side of that river? Well, I'm pleased that I didn't get
Here,
could
hear
afford
anything.
to stay. And my wife found this place, and it goes right down into the river, and behind is the York River. But if you look really carefully, you'll see a warehouse that was owned by John Hancock, the first signer of the Declaration of Independence. And right behind me, and it's also his wharf is there, and the wharf is where they smuggled in all the rum and booze from the Caribbean here
Bootleg.
to finance the American Revolution. Of course, nobody wants you to know that.
So the American Revolution was powered by booze.
It was
Absolutely.
powered by all
Bootleg
Just
sorts
like
of
the
things,
Vietnam
and
War was
booze
powered by
is
opium,
one of
and
them.
Iran-Contra War was powered by cocaine. We've always needed a little bit of the underbelly in order to support some of these noble and less noble efforts.
Yeah, I like
Congressman
that.
Rohrbacher, I want to ask you, what would you do to navigate these crazies right now in Washington who can't get their shit
What?
together at all?
What advice would you give to Matt Gaetz in regards to the craziness?
No,
that
no,
is
no, no. Not what advice to Matt Gaetz.
Yeah.
Forget Matt Gaetz.
Okay.
Matt
How
Gaetz
do
is
we
the
get
Speaker
this
of the House
joint
right
back
now.
on track? How do you get this all worked out and shit moving again?
Well, it's not going to happen until we convince the American people to believe in liberty and justice. The bottom line is we have communists and Marxists and all kinds of wild ass people now have been
Yes.
taught in their colleges to hate our country and not to keep things in perspective. You know, we have faults, but the the people who are focusing on those faults now nationally are going to end up creating less freedom and put us all in jeopardy within a year or two. The CIA and the FBI, they've been compromised by the same liberal leftists that are talking about. Well, anyway, things I don't want to get too much into it, but we have to make sure that we protect everybody's liberty, and that's that. And especially people who are look. They have convinced American people that it's justified to arrest hundreds of people who were protesting the legitimacy of the last election.
Didn't they only arrest the people who stormed the Capitol, or did they actually arrest some people who didn't do destruction to government property?
Jason, we lost audio.
And since then, they have been sicking the FBI and others on our people. And our people are just anybody who disagrees with the government right now. I've never seen it like this in my life. And what's really
Yeah.
I
We
can't
can't
hear
hear
him,
you,
but I
Jason.
think what he was going to say is that the FBI and the CIA are more political now than they were when COINTELPRO, where they were spying on liberal
CIA into
demonstrators
it.
back in the 60s, 50 or 40
I
years
see what
ago.
you did there,
And that
Yarrow.
there's no history that these institutions have in any way been partisan or slanted, but that might not be entirely historically contextually accurate.
I see what you did there, Yarrow. I think the Starlink ain't Starlinking.
Well,
The
We
link's
gotta
not
Star-
going so great, Jason.
The Starlink
guys-
is Starlinking because you guys can see me. And also, too, I just want to make a quick note of this and thank Congressman Rohrbacher because Congressman Rohrbacher is also the author of the 2004 Space Exploration Act, which allowed for the creation of
the creation of bad audio. Elon, I blame you. Thank you for the sexy cars. We see these two distinguished gentlemen. If we could only hear them, we'd be able to marry these beautiful images
I've always
to their great concepts and wonderful narratives.
what I've always advocated. See, I'm advocating my principles. I stick by my principles, and what I believe is technology and freedom will solve almost all the problems that people can have in this world. Technology and freedom, and that's it.
Yeah.
That
So we
principle.
should free all the technology or make all the technology free.
Technology will enrich the
Starlink should be-
world and enrich our country and enable our people to live good and decent lives.
So that plank of technology and that intersection with freedom, you come from you represented a portion of a state that obviously is an innovation engine for the whole country, and where we have this epicenter with Silicon Valley, this notion of innovation. It's very refreshing to hear you say that, and I wonder how much representing a portion of those geographies helped to shape or crystallize your worldview and your position. I agree with it. So I just am curious how you got to that place.
Well, I don't know. I'm first of all, I began my life, as you know, as an anti-communist when I still have always been an anti-communist. But and why was I an anti-communist? Because I was for freedom. It wasn't that these people want to fight a war with Russia right now. They want to fight a war with Russia now, and that's not going to do any good for anybody right now. And when I left the Reagan administration, most people, I don't know if you know that I worked in the Reagan administration. I was a special assistant to President Reagan for 7 years in the White House. And when we left, they called us warmongers, because of what we were trying to stand up to the communist-dominated Russia. When Reagan left, we reached an understanding with them, ended the Cold War. By the way, I'm the one who smuggled that speech to the president that said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall."
Down that wall.
Yes, senior staff people did not want that speech to be released at all whatsoever, and Dana had to smuggle it to get it in the hands of Reagan in order to ensure its deliverability.
Dana, this is a safe space.
I want to know where you hid the speech.
Well, what we did was Reagan was going to be going to Europe on that trip.
I think they smuggled the audio in the same location because I can't hear you.
Yeah.
They're frozen again.
We froze
Reagan
again.
would go to the helicopter to go up to Camp David every time he go for the weekend and work on his speeches. So what I did is
I think we got to move on, Jason. We keep on going
y'all
in and
are
out.
ruining my ratings because we can't even hear you.
We can't hear you, Congressman Aurora Becker. All right, we're gonna keep it moving on here. We're gonna go into our next story. Y'all know who it is. She is the founder of Panoptic Strategies and the High at 9 News team's very own Washington insider, known for doing things like cooking up.
And Reagan said, "Well,
bipartisan.
I think I'm going to use the one I've got," because the one they wanted him to use didn't say tear down the wall.
So what he said is that George Shultz, who was one of the White House speechwriters, was the one that did not want him to mention. George
Secretary of State.
Secretary of State at the time.
Jason.
He did not want this speech to be delivered. He said that yes.
We lost the stream.
The audio's going in and out. We should move on.
Are we moving on? Well, then let's give a big round of applause for Congressman Rohrabacher, because without him, we would not be experiencing the freedoms that we all enjoy every single day.
And this technology came out of Elon Musk, and Elon Musk worked with me in writing the Commercial Space Act of 2004. And now we got technology like this that we can use the freedom to express ourselves and our ideas. And so freedom and technology is the name of the game as far as I'm concerned.
That is why we fight for freedom.
So for you viewers, what he just said was a billionaire helped him to write the law.
Okay, next.
I think,
Let's get this moving a little.
Are we good?
We dig Dana.
Are we live?
And he's been
Are we
a
still
friend of
live?
the industry too.
Are we still
You
live?
want me to go or not?
I'm showing that
Are we
I'm showing that we're
completely
not live.
We're live.
Still live.
No, yeah, you guys can keep rolling.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, cool.
Okay,
All right,
I'm just
up
doing my
next,
headline. I don't need the
let's go.
intro.
Let's go,
We've wasted
Gretchen.
enough
Let's
time.
go.
All right.
Let's go.
Marijuana rescheduling would supersize the industry former DEA heads, and White House drug czar warn Biden administration. 6 former Drug Enforcement Administration heads and 5 former White House drug czars have sent a letter to the Attorney General and current DEA administrator voicing opposition to the top federal health agency's recommendation to reschedule marijuana. They also made a questionable claim about the relationship between drug schedules and criminal penalties in a way that may exaggerate the potential impact of the incremental reform. The letter sent to Attorney General Merrick Garland and DEA Administrator Ann Milgram on Thursday said that moving cannabis to Schedule 3, as advised by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, would supersize the industry by providing tax relief and further normalizing the market. It further asserted that rescheduling marijuana and thus reducing criminal penalties for marijuana trafficking removes a key tool federal agents have to prosecute cartels. But legal experts contest that claim, pointing out that penalties for trafficking marijuana and various other drugs are not directly tied to the scheduling status under the Controlled Substances Act. The penalties for cannabis trafficking do vary based on weight. For example, trafficking up to 50 kilograms is punishable by a mandatory minimum sentence of at least 5 years in prison and a maximum $250,000 fine for a first offense. Trafficking 1,000 kilograms carries a minimum 10-year sentence. But those are all specific to marijuana, so the idea that rescheduling would automatically reduce penalties is questionable and seems largely contingent on any future statutory changes by Congress. Unlike other substances where you change the schedule and the criminal penalties change accordingly for certain substances, marijuana chiefly among them, that is not the case. Shane Pennington, an attorney who specializes in federal drug policy and litigation against DEA, told Marijuana Moment in a phone interview on Friday. DEA just went ahead and said, with respect to marijuana specifically, here are the penalties. The former heads of the drug agencies are just incorrect about that in their letter. Kevin Sabet, president of Smart Approaches to Marijuana, the prohibitionist group that posted the letter, has repeatedly argued that it's a misconception that criminal penalties for federal drug offenses correspond with the drug's specific scheduling status. At one point, Sabet even criticized a member of Congress for allegedly misunderstanding the disconnect between scheduling status and penalties. That said, some other scholars have maintained that marijuana rescheduling would result in reduced criminal penalties under the CSA. And there's also the fact that, as a general rule, judges and prosecutors have discretion and could theoretically be more likely to levy lower penalties in the event of federal rescheduling, even if they're not legally bound to do so. Marijuana Moment reached out to the DEA for clarification, but a representative referred questions about criminal penalties and prosecutions to the Justice Department, which did not respond to a request for comment by the time of publication. The letter from the former DEA heads and White House drug czars go on to say that moving marijuana to Schedule 3 would supersize the cannabis industry in the United States by allowing them to evade IRS Section 280E and deduct business expenses. Not only would this mean that marijuana corporations would be able to deduct expenses for advertisements appealing to youth and the sale of kid-friendly marijuana gummies, but it would also dramatically increase the industry's commercialization ability. President Joe Biden directed the administrative review into marijuana scheduling about a year ago, and HHS spent 11 months carrying out a scientific assessment that ultimately concluded that cannabis should be moved to Schedule 3 of the CSA. The ball is now fully in DEA's court, as the health agency's scientific findings are binding, but the law enforcement agency can still choose to disregard their recommendation. The former DEA administrators and directors of the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy said in the letter that the DEA should do just that, ignore the scientific conclusions of HHS, and refuse to proceed with a Schedule 3 reclassification. They said they are gravely concerned about the potential reform, arguing that there has been no evidence that marijuana schedule should change in the 7 years since the federal government last considered a rescheduling petition. Schedule 1 drugs are those with no accepted medical use, they wrote, adding that the FDA has not approved marijuana for medical use because no double-blind published studies show safety and efficacy for raw marijuana. That may be the case, but that's also the case because guess what, guys? It's a Schedule 1 drug, and so it can't be researched like they would like to. So I think this letter, frankly, was probably written by good old Kevin Sabet, sent to these guys to sign, and that's where this is all coming from. Either way, if these guys are for or against it, they don't know shit. But the DA is going to do what they want to do. This is Gretchen for High at 9 News.
No,
agree
I
with you,
think this is
Gretchen.
probably one time that I actually agree with the DEA because I agree that cannabis should not be rescheduled.
I understand you think that, but to suggest that it should not be rescheduled because it has no medical efficacy is not the argument to be making. That does not help our case in the
Right.
future. We should not say that.
I don't understand how some of the most widely respected organizations like the American Cancer Society, um, I mean, there's so many different organizations, medical nonprofits that acknowledge that this plant is medicine. There are doctors, the AMA, like there's just so much proof out there, like undisputable proof.
Yep.
And government, oh God, I just get so mad. It's almost like I can't talk sometimes when this comes up because the hypocrisy in it is appalling and offensive. It's like looking at all
Let it
of us
let
citizens
it
in the
flow.
face
Let it flow
and
through you.
looking at us like we're so stupid we can't think for ourselves when the evidence is right in front of our eyes. Like this is crazy.
I would say with they said it would take away tools to fight the cartels. Like they're speaking out of both ends of their mouth right now because wasn't it just last year they said that the cartel activity is down and they're switching over to avocados because
Oh,
weed is
it
more
was not.
heavily right because weed is
What are
more
they
heavily
talking about?
accessible in places, yeah,
What
they're
are
saying they're
they?
just going to take away the tools to fight the cartels. Like, come on, man. I agree with you, Gretchen. I believe that this was co-written, if not written outright, by Kevin Sabet and some prohibitionists that trying to move us away from the path that we are on, and we need to just keep on marching towards deschedulizing this
Well, I
thing.
think
There's no
part of
funding.
that.
There's no federal funding going towards prosecuting cannabis right now. So what
Right?
are they even talking about? It even makes sense.
Yeah.
Well,
It's not that there's no federal funding going towards prosecuting cannabis. It's that there's no federal funding going towards prosecuting cannabis if it appears that those operators were in compliance with the state laws in the state that they were living in. And I think that's just a critical distinction.
well at the same time too. This happens to be a time.
That's Starlink, man.
We can't hear you, Jason.
I'm not a believer in Starlink.
And
Elon,
I don't have an issue with people saying no, it should not be Schedule 3. I have no problem with that. And that it should be rescheduled, descheduled to a different classification. But to suggest that we go along with these bullshit arguments that these guys are putting up because we think it's going to help our cause in the future is just ridiculous. And I think conversations need to be had with some of these gentlemen that they're being misinformed about really what happens. No one is evading 280E. What happens is when this gets rescheduled, 280E no longer applies to you. I mean, the way that they are framing this is just ridiculous. And to say that it's going to supersize the industry, yes, it's going to put money back in the pockets of law abiding businesses that can now contribute to their communities and do more and actually give back and try and build their businesses. Yes, it's going to help the industry. Is it going to help the industry significantly? No, because we need to lower the shit out of the taxes that are being applied to these people. But to suggest that the way that they're framing this argument is just absolutely ludicrous. And we need to go on an education campaign to explain to these former drug czars about how they should be using their position to bring responsible, rational drug policy about in this country.
Yeah, Gretchen. Put that in
I'm
the
just
sound
saying.
bite, Adam. Yeah.
Oh
Back on
boy.
your soapbox, man. Like that. Yeah.
Boy.
Feisty Gretchen's the best Gretchen.
Yes. I mean, at the end of the
See,
day, we.
even the congressman agrees with me. He says stupefied by my brilliance there, Jason. He's got no response. He's like, she said it right.
Well,
Hey,
what he actually
even
did.
though even though Gretchen's a Romney Republican.
Well,
Hey,
what he did,
yes, I did work for Romney. I liked him. Sorry.
what he did say, what he did say is the fact that his law, which is still in place today, the Rohrabacher Farm Amendment, which is now Blumenauer McClintock, is still in place, and that does actually prohibit the DOJ from investigating in regards with cannabis sales. If the DOJ finds something in people that are trafficking or whatnot, that is totally separate situation in regards to the fact. But the reality is that they are not getting any funding for investigating of cannabis.
That's awesome. I appreciate that distinction and that granularity and you putting on his policymaker chops for our show. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, in particular,
I think it's time for a commercial break. You got a commercial
I
for us,
don't.
Adam?
I think putting people in jail, no matter who they are, for consuming something, providing somebody to voluntarily consume something, is ridiculous and totally inconsistent with the liberty that was fought for right behind us. And here we are up in where the American Revolution was fought for liberty, and they didn't fight for having the federal government control what we consume, for Pete's sakes. And but my amendment basically says that anything that can be used for the federal government can't use any of its resources or money in order to supersede a state law that legalizes the medical use of marijuana. And as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't have to be just the medical use. People can legalize marijuana, as far as I'm concerned, for adults. But at least we must recognize that marijuana is a gift from God, and it 76 years old. I got aches and pains, and a lot of people understand there are aches and pains that come with age. The most important thing we can do to help those people is let them buy and choose what they want. But I would suggest that CBD should be something they should consider, the CBD oil, and it takes away your pain. What's wrong with that? And instead, they're wasting enormous amount of resources. Or should be. If my amendment didn't stop them, they'd be spending billions of dollars to try to prevent older people, from rubbing CBD oil on their shoulders or hips or something. So anyway, again, it's freedom and technology that we need to have as a solution, not more government controls.
Yes, and I'll even go as farther to say that the Rohrabacher Farm Amendment, because it is an appropriations bill, and appropriations bills have to be written so broadly that it actually does cover adult use cannabis as well, seeing as how the Justice and DEA and any other agency cannot investigate whether something is medical or adult use because they are not allowed to expend any resources on that.
Is there any beef? Now that that your bill that you put forward, Congressman, it now identifies as something else with a different name? They took your
He
name
wants
off
to
of
know,
it.
do you feel like there's any animosity or beef due to the fact that the bill is no longer in your name? As far as I don't think the congressman feels that way at all, Rico, because that's the way that the government works in regards to, because he's no longer a congressman, so that bill would not be named after him because it has to be reintroduced in the appropriations every year. So therefore, it has the two co-sponsors, Congressman Blumenauer and Congressman McClintock, and so that's the only reason that name has changed, as they are basically carrying the torch as opposed to some type of a new bill.
Continuing the fight in the same vein.
Yes,
I got it.
exactly.
I can dig it.
Exactly.
And with that, Adam, we're gonna have a short commercial break here. We're gonna keep it rolling.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
Congressman,
She loves
play
singers.
The audio
Guys
is
ready.
not good enough for something, whatever you're trying to play,
Yeah.
Jason. We can't hear
Keep
you.
on dropping out, Jason.
Oh, they
Also,
can't
we've
hear
had
it.
the
Okay.
same headline on our page on YouTube, the dog attacks, for a long time.
I'm ready to read that article. I'm thoroughly
What?
prepared. I drank my
Okay.
tall cup of coffee,
Let's go.
but I just don't want to take any shine away from the fact that we have a very special policy guest. And short of
I
the
know. I
audio
know.
interruptions,
I know.
you know,
We got to make sure we get some live recorded stuff, Jason, because we are going since we're live right here, and it keeps on going in and out. But we're gonna keep it rolling here. Up next, this well-known industry expert and dedicated Mary Mama is a Northern California-based head honcho of the Women's Canna Awards. She's also known in certain circles as Carmen Sacramento for her never-ending international quest to find the world's greatest cannabis and psychedelic edible experiences. But also, a little birdie told me that it's somebody's birthday. So I'd like to give a round of applause, a nice warm round of a birthday applause for Manndie Tingler.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for all the birthday wishes, everybody. It's been a really wonderful morning. God is good. Life is good. I feel very blessed. So thank you. This article actually follows Gretchen's really well, as we're talking about rescheduling and what that means with regards to 280E taxes. I think some businesses are really starting to reconsider what their methodology or approach will be when it comes to 280E. So today my headline reads, Marijuana MSO Trulieve seeks $143 million federal refund for 280E taxes. Multi-state marijuana company Trulieve Cannabis Corp is seeking federal tax refund of $143 million, saying it, quote, believes it does not owe the tax it paid over the last 3 years. This determination is supported by legal interpretations that challenge the company's tax liability under Section 280E of the Internal Tax Code. Section 280E prevents state legal marijuana companies from deducting standard business expenses, resulting in much larger tax bills. The company acknowledged that actually getting a tax refund is not guaranteed. Trulieve filed amended federal tax returns for 2019, 2020, and 2021. The company's Friday statement was short on specifics regarding its legal interpretations of 280E. Asked by MJ Biz Daily for more details, a Trulieve spokesperson reiterated that the company believes it does not owe these taxes. We are continually evaluating our tax position and will share additional information as appropriate, the spokesperson said in a statement. Although some states have started easing their 280E burdens on regulated marijuana companies, the federal rule remains and is enforced by the IRS. The cannabis sector overpaid its taxes by $1.8 billion in 2022 as a result of 280E, according to a report by Portland, Oregon-based cannabis sector analysis Whitney Economics. However, 280E's burden on the sector could be eliminated if the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration moves marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. That's because the rule applies only to businesses trafficking in Schedule 1 and 2, which are controlled substances. If you guys just heard that loud noise in the background, Luke's pouring champagne. And on that note, you guys, this is Carmen Sacramento coming to you live here in Sacramento on my birthday. I couldn't spend it without you. What do y'all think about this?
Happy birthday.
Truly crazy. Thank you.
I think the attorneys for Trulieve went to the Jason Beck School of Law. I don't know how they're out their minds. I appreciate them. God bless their souls for trying
Great
this.
headline.
But
That's a great headline.
what the hey, go for it. If you got the money to burn on lawyers, knock yourselves out.
They already dropped 40 mil. They're
Mhm.
inching up to that 40 mil marker. Why not make it a little more with a great press release saying that they're suing for they're suing for the 280E back? And I, give it. I mean, whether this whole ballot initiative works for Trulieve or not in Florida, they are putting a lot of heat on their name. There's a great marketing plan to get their name in the headlines nationwide, like pretty much every single week. It's always something with them, like whether it works out or not. They are staying hot right now, and whether you like Trulieve or not, they have truly raised the bar for the cannabis community in Florida. And being that, like, when I covered the story last week, only 128 people, $128 were put up by cannabis advocates for the ballot initiative in Florida, outside of the nearly 40 million that Trulieve put in themselves. So whether these headlines go through or not, whether it is the Jason Beck Esquire School of
Yeah,
Law or not,
it's the true
Trulieve is
rule of
popping
law.
right.
It's
Trulieve
the
is
true rule
popping
of law.
right
But
now.
I'll tell you what,
The
I think
business person in
Trulieve.
me fucking loves this. They have the budget to push this forward. They're setting
Right.
some kind of precedent, even if it
They
totally
can
gets just
conversation
thrown
starter,
out,
right?
whatever. It's a huge conversation starter, and this is something that every business should consider doing because it's fucking ridiculous, and you are owed that money back. You are.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, look,
Yep.
the tax issue is one of the best issues for the cannabis industry because left, right, red, blue, purple, whatever your political affiliations are, it's something that we can all get together around and agree with. And there's a history here of sort of tax reform slash advocacy as a PR vehicle. And this is not a new playbook. Harborside did this on the West Coast and pushed back with a lawsuit. And so I think it's money well spent. I think it's the kind of money being spent that only these bigger organizations can afford. And whether they win or lose, they get great PR as a result of it. And it continues to keep the issue of tax reform front and center. So I'm not saying that Trulieve's done everything right. In fact, you know, if you pull back the kimono, you can see some things that are far from kosher, right? But on this tax issue, I think we can all get around the notion that it's not the worst use of funds for them to continue to keep it in the headlines and to try to get some relief for them and hopefully as a result of that other entities.
Yeah.
Well, here's
Yeah,
the thing: is that ultimately, Trulieve owes so much
I can get
money
behind this
in
one for
IRS
Trulieve.
taxes.
Sure.
This might just be a general overall, just them removing a red line item on their AR because of the fact that they owe so much money in federal tax dollars currently. So basically, maybe they're just trying to get their bill erased with this.
You know what, Jason, you're coming through pretty clear now. Maybe it was Congressman Rohrabacher when he was in there with you. Maybe they're just trying to block him. They're trying to censor him. Maybe that's what's going on.
Probably something like that. It's probably, the Biden administration probably trying to silence the truth again.
I think so. Yeah, like I'm yeah, like this whole Truly thing. I don't know how it's going to turn out. Most likely, it's not going to turn out as a victory for them. But any way that we continue this conversation about taxes and reducing, if not doing away with 280E, I'm all for that. And if they got the budget to put it through in marketing, they got the budget to go through with this lawsuit. More power to them. Keep on keeping on, Kim Rivers.
Yep. I'll
take a bet with anyone who thinks they're going to get this money back.
I don't think they're going to get this money back at all. I just like the fact that they're beating this drum.
That 280E goes away, thousands of companies are going to do the same exact fucking thing.
But it's not retroactive.
Not retro. Exactly. It's not retroactive.
People are going to do it.
That's not how the IRS works.
It's true. Once you've given the IRS your money, they have no intention of giving it back, regardless if there's a policy change.
No refund for you.
Yeah.
All right, Yarrow, let's hear about this dog. What you got?
Well, so it's really tough for me. First of all, happy birthday. Happy birthday. I'm so blessed to be in the company of this group of people. And obviously, Dana, thank you for coming on and suffering through our questionable audio. And we will need to circle back to Elon to see if we can do better with this Starlink situation. But happy birthday. It's just a challenge for me to have a dog article when there's already a dog in the screen stealing my spotlight. But with that stated, this is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News, Monday morning here, middle of October.
But not first, but second generation cultivator, and also the founder of Special Teams Consulting. Is that
second
you?
generation cultivator doing my thing,
Yeah.
cannabis real estate and cannabis real estate here in NorCal, and let's get right into this because this one was pretty good. So, dog attacks Otsego County family after ingesting THC gummy. Grand Rapids, Michigan. I was in Michigan last week. Let's let this roll. The director of Otsego County Animal Control is reminding pet owners that while CBD is safe for most animals, THC is not. The reminder comes days after an Oswego County woman claimed she was attacked by her family dog after feeding it a THC gummy. According to the report from 9 and 10 News, Animal Control said the dog had been with the family for 4 years and is not an aggressive breed. CBD and THC are two compounds commonly found in marijuana. THC is one that triggers psychoactivity. While CBD is considered safe for dogs and can help alleviate aches and pains, THC is considered toxic. It depends on the composition of the dog or cat on how it's going to affect them. But the biggest thing to be aware of and to know what is to be aware of and to know what to look out for, said the director, Melissa Fitzgerald, and she told the news this. THC toxicity can lead to side effects ranging from a lack of coordination and sluggishness to restlessness and aggression. This dog became very aggressive and it was a bad scene, Fitzgerald said. Her team is now working with the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development to try to get a warning placed on THC products. Experts recommend if your pet consumes THC, you should contact your veterinarian immediately. So let me kick this off for a quick second with my own commentary. The first thing that stood out for me in this article is that they said they've owned the dog for 4 years. To me, that's code for the fact that this dog had a life and an experience before them. These people probably fell in love with the idea of rescuing a dog from the pound because everybody loves that modest pet flex, and the dog had an unknown history, which means that it had unknown experiences, which mean that it might have latent or unknown behaviors. The next thing is this notion of adding another label, right? Adding another label is code for more cost, more regulation, more bureaucracy. I don't know any cannabis manufacturer or consumer that has previously thought that giving their animals psychotropic inputs is somehow good for them. And then the other thing also is this notion of causation versus correlation, right? We have a dog with an unknown history potentially that did something aggressive, and we are now suggesting that it's because of the THC gummy. That doesn't pass the sniff test for me. And finally and lastly, in the article, it says that the lady gave her dog a THC gummy. What the fuck are you thinking, you nincompoop? Who feeds their dog THC gummies? Like, go give it a rawhide chew like the rest of us dog owners and then rub its belly. So that concerns me on a lot of different levels. I would never feed pets cannabis intentionally, except for one thing, which is in the Middle Ages, the songbirds in the royal courts were fed THC seeds because it was believed that they sang better songs when they consumed the THC. So I stress tested this idea back in 2008 by mixing cannabis trim with the chicken feed for my 44 chicken flock in Sebastopol, California. About 3 hours later, I got a call from my wife and she said, "What did you do to the chickens?" And I played dumb on the phone and said, "What, dear?" And she said, "I don't know, but these chickens are acting really, really strange." And I stress tested the idea, and apparently cannabis isn't good for chickens. It didn't make them chirp any better, and most of them suffered for at least a day with cotton beak. Luckily, no animals were harmed in that exercise, but I think this is another one of those articles that just kind of falls under common sense.
Couldn't agree with you more, y'all. There's way too many question marks surrounding like where did they get the weed from? Who told them to give THC to the dog? Like where did the dog come from before then? Was the dog? And I hate seeing this coded language. And hopefully I can get a cosign from you too, Gretchen, because you have to
Mhm.
rescue pit bulls as well. There's no such thing as a quote unquote aggressive breed. There's aggressive breeders, and you breed a dog to do one thing or the other. And guns don't kill people. People kill people,
The
right?
most that Salem's ever
Uh,
gonna do is lick you to death. That's it.
right? Yeah, there's so much coded language around this. It just seemed like a bunch of like prohibitionist fluff. This whole article, like a dog eats
This is
weed, goes
definitely
crazy, attacks. This is like cocaine bear. This is the weed version of cocaine bear, right?
Ultimately, this is a
The whole thing was a straight up
irresponsible.
lie. The whole movie was a straight up lie. The cocaine that the bear consumed, it actually died within 20 minutes, and that was the end of the story. Period.
They needed
So-
more than 20 minutes for the movie, so they extended it out, right? I mean,
Right.
here's
It
the
was
thing.
an entertaining movie.
It was a good movie.
It was
Unfortunately,
hilarious.
I have to admit that.
It was very
And here's the
hilarious.
thing. We're ultimately responsible for our dog's behavior, whether you know it or not. My
Period.
best friend was an animal control officer. You're responsible for your dog's behavior. It's not like a cat, which is considered a free spirit and can't even be personal property. So if you feed your dog THC and then your dog does something aggressive to one of your family members, you're responsible for that, right? And so I mean, should we take that person and after their stitches have healed, charge them with animal cruelty? I don't know. Maybe that's just a dog
Yes.
whistle. But there's a lot to unpack.
I see what you did there with that dog whistle, Yarrow.
Situation going down. Like, how did this actually jump into the news? This person's at home, makes a decision to feed a dog a gummy. I guarantee you, nobody said, "Go ahead and do that." This is, let's try it and see what happens. And then it winds up
it's
in
been
a
a great
news
family.
article.
It's been
Does
a
she
great
file the
family pet.
paper herself?
I have a question
It's
for you
been a
guys.
great-
Do we
it's been
think
a
that
great
this
family
was
pet
a
for 4 years? We just go ahead and give it as an off-brand gummy.
do we think this was a Delta 8 gummy or some other
Also,
cannabis
I
compound?
think that we should go and arrest this person. No, but
Yeah,
maybe
animal
Put
abuse.
another label. We should put another label that says, "Don't be an idiot."
Yes.
another label. Jesus, we should put another
Yeah.
label that says "Don't be an idiot" on soda too. Don't be an
Yeah,
idiot.
on,
and
yeah,
use
on
it.
sugar. All sugar products. How about that? Make all sugar products. Put labels on those. It causes obesity. It causes your kids to act wild as hell. And matter of fact, you should stop eating 95% of everything in America because it's all dumped. All gas sugar dumped in it. But we're not going to do that, right? Because of sugar
Birthday
subsidies.
cake.
And
Birthday cake, you get to eat as much as you want.
you know, it's your birthday. You can eat all the cake you want. You can take your cake and eat it too. I hate that
Hell
saying,
yeah.
man, because what are you supposed to do with cake? You ain't supposed to eat it? Like, what the hell, man? But anyways, thank you all for joining us for yet another episode of High at 9 News. We're gonna give the outro today to Dana. Let him play a little ditty for us, if we will.
Yeah.
But let me
Oh,
get to
yeah.
it real quick.
You ready, Dana?
Thank you all for joining us for yet another episode of High at 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast, where Jason is today. Big shout out to our super fans showing love, getting their comments posted live on the big screen, to our live audience and online supporters catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the news that we read off to you. To our vetted correspondents tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and your respected opinion to the table. Our production team, Cloud Media Partners, House of Fuego, all our sponsors keeping the lights on, and usually our AV struggles to a minimum. I know we had a couple of issues with Starlink today, but we're going to get those ironed out. And as always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason that the High News team reads these headlines daily. Thank you. It has been Monday, October 16th, 2023. The show's over. We've all been blessed with the top industry headlines. If you haven't already, make sure you guys hit the comment section and give Manndie Tingler a big happy birthday. Give her some love. I hope today's news was enough to put in your pipe and smoke at least until tomorrow. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News. Congressman
Dana,
Roy
take us
Butler,
out.
can you give us a little love?
All right. Now,
We'll strum a
let's
little ditty
note
for
that
us.
it's a pretty wild song here. And so you might not like half of it, or you might really love the other half. But here goes.
I just
Sounds
like
like
that you're
America.
playing it.
Goes. I don't own nobody, but it should own me. I'm just an individual man. I just want to be free. I will make my money. If you make yours, that's fine. I won't take none of yours, so get your grubby hands off mine. 'Cause I don't own nobody, nobody should own me. I'm just an individual man. I just want to be free. Well, you can't legislate my morals or anything I do. I can have some pot, I have my girl, 'cause I'm not screwing you. I don't own nobody. Nobody should own me. I'm just an individual man. I just want to be free. It goes on and on.
Oh, yeah. Give him a round of applause out there.
God,
Yes.
That political political affiliation playing bluegrass.
Yes, it's actually
Hey,
green
man.
grass over here. Green grass is
Hey,
behind us.
I'm all about green and purple, baby. Green and purple all day.
Oh man,
It's
green
got
and red,
layers
green
to
and
him.
red.
Who knew that he was a troubadour as well?
Oh man, yeah, you breaking off all that special stuff for us today, man. Appreciate you, Congressman Rohrbacher. Adam, why don't you take us out, my man? Take us out.